So let's continue the transfer roundup and the news, and let's have a look at what's happening on the web pages of talkSPORT.com today. One of the best places to round up all your transfer news. James Hopper is with me in the studio. James, evening to you.
Afternoon.
Now then, this is a done deal. Announced earlier on today, Joleon Lescott going to Sunderland. But the angle you guys have taken is to look at the reaction from the fans.
Yes, it's always a thing that we like to do on the site. Get a fan reaction, check out Twitter, social media. It's always great, a great resource for fans' outbursts. So, absolutely. David Moyes, earlier in the week, he was saying that the signings that Sunderland were going to make likely aren't going to make a big difference. And when you think of making no difference, Joleon Lescott comes to mind. So, lots of fans have been asking, is he the worst signing of all time? Possibly. We'll just have to wait and see. But he's 34. He was just released by AEK Athens. And, you can't really get much better options than a Premier League experienced defender right now than Joleon Lescott.
Well, that's why I would actually take a different view to the fans. Look, I know it's not sexy. You know, a player who is a free agent in January, there aren't many of them, and there's normally a reason for it. But it's a player the manager knows, a player that you can afford, and let's be honest, you know, that's been part of the thing. So if you've got, I mean, there are numerous players who are being brought in from all around the world. Well, you know Joleon Lescott speaks the language. Absolutely. He understands and knows the league well. In terms of the potential for this not to work, it's actually really, really low. You might not get much out of it. You still might be relegated at the end of it. But actually, it's a bit of a no-gamble deal as far as I can see.
Yeah, it's a bit of a low-risk deal. I imagine it's a short-term deal, and if things don't go to plan, if Sunderland go down, maybe Lescott will reassess his options, maybe join someone in the Birmingham area. Who knows? He always likes to go back to that area.
That is true. That is certainly true. Right, so Joleon Lescott done and dusted. Now, this is an interesting one. Oliver Burke, a man whose career has just absolutely taken off in the last 18 months or so, and now there's more stories about his future.
Yeah, so he joined RB Leipzig last summer for 13 million from Nottingham Forest, and he was kind of seen as a Gareth Bale sort of figure for Scotland, and to be honest, I'm slightly disappointed he hasn't had more of an impact on the international stage, especially against England. I was surprised, given the lack of talent that Scotland currently have, that he wasn't given a chance to show what he could do at Wembley. And Crystal Palace, Leicester and Middlesbrough have been linked with a move, and I think Crystal Palace makes the most sense for him. Since Newcastle, they've been linked with a move for Andros Townsend. He said that he would want to work with Rafa Benitez again. So I reckon that if Townsend were to make a move in the last few days of the window, that could be a loan option for Burke to go to Crystal Palace.
If this happens, this will be one of the most embarrassing situations for all Premier League scouts. Because there he was, playing in England, and not one of them went to their director of football, chairman or manager and said, you've got to get this guy. He went to an unfashionable team in Europe, in Germany, and it looks like they've all missed out. And in essence, if he does go on loan to a Premier League club, they're basically admitting they missed him the first time round, or didn't believe in him enough to sign him. So to me, it's almost getting him second hand, and it just does not look good.
Exactly. Like, you just have to look at like Dele Alli as the prime example of there being talent in the Football League. It's just teams don't want to take a risk, particularly the teams low down, who more than likely they're going to throw them into the first team. If they make a signing, you can't bring them along and slowly introduce them. If you spend money at a lower club, you have to play them immediately, and if they don't have an impact, that's the end of that player. So I think it's tougher for smaller teams to do that in a way. So that could be an option.
Oliver was on the Jim White show this morning. We'll be playing you that in a few minutes' time, so stick around and have a listen. Right then, we've been to Germany for a moment. Let's head to Milan now and Inter for this one.
Yeah, Andrea Ranocchia from Inter Milan. He's 28 years old and an Italy international. He hasn't seen much action at the San Siro this season, and he's been linked with a move to Swansea, who have the worst defence in the league, conceded 51 goals this year. And it's no surprise, particularly seeing Mike van der Hoorn and Jordi Amat as a centre-back pairing. That really has been dreadful. you just have to watch Swansea on a week-to-week basis to realise how bad their defence is. So any defensive reinforcements would be much appreciated, I'd say.
Yeah, interesting that the two of the sides down there, Hull and Swansea, both in as well. They kind of know they've got to do something, and they're just trying to find the appropriate player. You wonder as well how significant Paul Clement can be in these kind of situations, that you might be able to open doors that wouldn't necessarily be available. Look, the Premier League's got a huge amount of money, but actually Paul Clement has managed at PSG, at Chelsea. He's coached at PSG, Chelsea, Bayern Munich. That comes with a certain cachet.
Exactly, and I imagine he has obviously those languages at his disposal. I'm not sure if Italian is one of them, so maybe that could play its part in bringing Ranocchia to the Liberty Stadium, but definitely he could attract a continental mix in January.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, William Carvalho is a name that's it's been around for a very long time. This is a guy who's been making headlines, and the Premier League keep being linked with him, and Liverpool is the big one at the moment.
Yeah, so Sporting Lisbon, they've just allowed Lazar Markovic to return to Liverpool, and he's joined Hull on loan. So Liverpool have used that opportunity to reopen negotiations with Sporting Lisbon about William Carvalho. Emre Can has been underperforming severely this season, and Jordan Henderson, given his injury problems, there is a spot available in that Liverpool midfield. So I think, given his physical presence and Liverpool's defensive issues, he could be another barrier to help shore up that leaky defence.
Well, also, Lucas Leiva's not getting any younger, is he, as well? I mean, he wouldn't be cheap, though. That is the one thing about these Portuguese players, is that, yes, they are there, and you can get them in the fact that these clubs are willing to do business, but you do have to pay a fair old chunk of money out to get them.
Exactly, and given that he performed so well at the Euros in the summer, that's going to add on another premium. On the back of an international tournament, it always adds around 5 or 10 million, so Sporting could be thinking ka-ching right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And, well, we've done Italy, we've done Portugal. Let's head to France now, and another player linked with Arsenal.
Yeah, Anthony Maisonial. My French is paid off there. I'm pretty sure that pronunciation is okay. He's an 18-year-old goalkeeper, and Peter Cech, he'll be 35 at the end of the season, and Arsenal are looking at his situation, maybe thinking of a Wojciech Szczesny type of situation where they get him young, they develop him, loan him out maybe, see if he progresses. Obviously, Szczesny didn't work out particularly well in the end, but he did show potential at that young age, so that could be the thinking behind Arsene Wenger's move for another Frenchman.
That is potentially the one area that Wenger has struggled with more than anything else in recruitment. Goalkeeper. I mean, you think about the number of goalkeepers that have come in, be it young ones, slightly older ones, and it just hasn't worked out. Eventually, they went out and paid the big bucks and got Petr Cech, and you've seen kind of what's happened. But it would be interesting to see if one of these youngsters who they take let's be honest, it's a punt. It's a cheap punt. Will it work out and save us 25 million quid down the line? But there comes a point that actually one of these punts has got to pay off, otherwise it just sort of drifts off into the ether.
Exactly, and given goalkeepers, they're given more of a career than other 35-year-olds, so easily Cech might be there till he's 40, we don't know, depending on how well he performs. But yeah, another young player that Arsene Wenger has targeted. We'll just have to see whether he gets a chance in the first team.
Well, yeah, absolutely. So it's January the 24th, so we've got another week of this. This is where it starts to get interesting, isn't it? As we build up now to, obviously, not as many midweek games this week, which gives clubs a bit of chance to actually go and do some business, try and get it done ahead of the weekend, and therefore not be scrabbling around at the start of next week.
Yeah, absolutely. It's always an exciting time for fans, and I'm sure many people will be tuning into Sky Sports on deadline day to see if their club is making any exciting deadline day moves.